Hi, I'm Chris Chrysostomidis at MIT's testing site for underwater robots. We are here to show you recent activity of the MIT Sea Grant program. The Autonomous Underwater Vehicles Lab is dedicated to the advancement of science and technology for building small, intelligent underwater robots for exploring and understanding oceans. The goal of our undergraduate education is to teach groups of students to work together, organizing and managing a complex multidisciplinary project. At the culmination, students and staff deploy the vehicle containing components developed by individuals and by teams. The cornerstone of our education program is support from MIT, including the Chair for Teaching Innovation, and from Sea Grant. In addition, National Science Foundation and the Draper Laboratory generously support this hands-on education. Our activities have attracted the attention of both local and national news. Two excerpts will now follow.
Hello, I'm Cecilia Link. Welcome to Science News. All scientists collect data, but sometimes just collecting this information can be a real challenge. For example, how do you gather information from inside an erupting volcano or from under 6,000 meters of seawater? Today, we're alongside the Charles River, which is a test site for a new underwater data collecting robot called Sea Squirt. A team of scientists from MIT Sea Grant are developing this robot to help oceanographers reach dangerous or hard-to-reach places.
What exactly is a robot? How is say this thing different from this little mechanical gadget here, this walking man? Well, we can show one big difference between an ordinary mechanism like this and a real robot, like our little tank here. I'll turn the robot on. What the robot tries to do is go to the brightest source of light. Now, this film light over here is by far the brightest source, so it'll move off in that direction. But let's turn it on. It's got a little problem here. We've placed an obstacle, this phone book, in its path. So let's see what happens. It bumps into the obstacle, it backs up and turns and proceeds on. Now let's see our little mechanical man here and how well he does against the obstacle. So he's walking up to the obstacle, just like this vehicle rolled up to it. And what happens when it hits? When it hits, well, it just keeps trying to walk. That's because this is just a mechanism. It has no sensors and no control, no computer on board telling it what to do. Okay, this little device illustrates all the basic principles of a robot, but it doesn't do anything particularly useful. We do feel, however, that robots will have a variety of applications in the future, basically to do things which are difficult for people to do or which are dangerous for people to do. Here at MIT Sea Grant, we're developing robots which can go underwater and do work. Why would one want to build underwater robots? Well, the Earth's surface is mostly water. The planet is covered by roughly 70% ocean, and these oceans are enormously important to people. They're a source of food, and very, very importantly, they are a big factor in controlling the global climate. When we think about vehicles which will be able to survive in the ocean and do useful work, you don't have just, for instance, this vehicle just has two sensors, a bumper and some light sensors up here. But you may have 10 or 20 sensors. Each sensor is being a very, very complicated system on the vehicle. And the computer would be much, much larger. The programming you have to do is much more complicated. The vehicle itself, its thrusters, how does it behave in the water? That's the issue of control. These are all complicated problems, and no one person can design and build a complicated vehicle. What you have to do is assemble a team of people, each with his or her own expertise. And these people combine their knowledge and build parts of the vehicle, and then we integrate the whole thing together into a working vehicle and test it.
But the heart of what the C-Squirt actually is the word test bed. We use this vehicle to primarily do experiments on using different kinds of sensors and different kinds of controlling systems.
What my object is to make a pinger homing system so that the vehicle, when it's in the water, can hear the pinger pinging and know where it is and head toward it. So basically, if you imagine that you have two ears and I'm the vehicle, then say there's a sound over there. Now, the human brain does, obviously, most of this processing, so we don't even have to think about it. But what it actually does is it computes the tiny little differences in time that one ear hears over the other ear, and based on that, you basically know generally what direction the sound came from. And that's what we want to do for this underwater vehicle, give it some smarts. There's a lot of money and work that goes into a vehicle like this, a lot of computers and electronics that cost quite a bit of money, and it would be very nice if we could get a vehicle back from a particular mission.
These are acoustic sensors for use in some of Dave Chen's work. We use them primarily for navigation. We've also got, let me pull these up here, some tests that do things like testing how much electricity passes through the water, tests how rough the water is, and things of that nature. And this rack mounts on top of the squirt like this.
Ooh, that's much better.
If you can imagine the device I'm working on like an underwater lighthouse, okay? And essentially, if you were a captain on a boat looking at a lighthouse from a certain distance, you can tell two kinds of information about how far away you are from the land, and then whether or not the lighthouse is on your right or on your left. And essentially, we want to give the C-Squirt that same capacity. The way we ended up deciding to do it was finding a device called a photodetector. And the kind that we are using, find out how much light there is in a certain area and produce a voltage as its output.
The main thing I have learned is several techniques for designing control systems for the C-Squirt. All the information, all the programs that are needed is now being loaded through this tether into the computer on this vehicle located in this nose cone section here.
We have a leak?
Yeah, we got a major leak.
As far as the actual process for going through and testing a vehicle, any number of problems can occur. Simple things like things not being as tight as they're supposed to be and the like can cause water to get inside of this vehicle, or worse, for a short or something to happen inside the electronics.
In any real-world project, you do have to deal with the unexpected. So,
Cedric and some of the other graduate students who were at the test sort of popped the squirt open the same way you kind of pop the hood on a car. Went through all of the circuitry and the cabling and the like, and compared that with drawings that we keep of the squirt, and made sure that everything was okay. They did tests, and after it was determined that everything was okay electrically, the squirt was allowed to run here in the lab overnight. And once that was done, then the squirt seems to be pretty much prepared and ready for its next test.
this time it appears not to be leaking though, so things seems to be working A-okay. Let's see, 180, let's say minus 90, 110, yeah. We set, let's say, in this case, a 3-minute time delay so that we'll have enough time to take the tether loose and, you know, push it away from the dock so, you know, it won't run into it.
You always hope that your system will do what it's supposed to do. Obviously, it's probably not going to work the first time, but there's always hope. When you finally get a working system, it just makes everything worth it.
Robots like Sea-Squirt provide new opportunities for scientists to study the oceans. As we develop this technology, scientists will be able to go to places they have never been able to get to and to collect new kinds of information that can help us with problems like ocean currents, water quality, and global warming.
A tiny submarine with a mind of its own could help researchers explore hard-to-reach underwater areas. CNN's Al Hinman reports that the sub was built not by the Navy, but by college students.
The classroom, Boston's Charles River. While some students learn how to stay on top of the water, others are studying what's below the surface. They're using a new learning tool, one they helped design and build at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Sea-Squirt is a robot submarine with a mind of its own, designed to explore underwater habitats by itself, untethered to its human masters.
What we've effectively built is an autonomous vehicle that is smart enough to be able to negotiate its way around.
Most robot subs are tethered with cables to motherships on the surface, but such remote-controlled subs can be expensive to build and operate, and their cable connections to the surface rule out some deep-sea exploration.
You want to be able to get access to parts of the ocean that really aren't accessible now, under the ice caps in the Arctic, under the permanent ice shelf in the Antarctic.
Small autonomous robot subs, like Sea-Squirt, could open up access to the polar ice regions, and perhaps one day, the deepest parts of the ocean. The key is the sub's independence.
This vehicle here, when we put it in the water, it's out of contact with us. We can't talk to it till it gets back, and if it's not capable of taking care of itself, then it'll get lost.
A sophisticated computer model demonstrates Sea-Squirt's navigational prowess. The new robot sub relies on an onboard computer's artificial intelligence program. Sonar signals help the sub detect and avoid obstacles while staying on its pre-programmed course, collecting data such as water temperature and purity, or locating something, like an oil leak.
It just found its object, and now it's going to go home, back where we've got a couple people waiting for it on the surface with a rowboat.
Sea-Squirt is limited to short, close-to-the-surface missions. The small sub's already helping keep track of water conditions in the Charles River. The MIT team is working on a big brother for Squirt. Odyssey is designed to dive deeper and for longer periods and can carry a bigger payload of electronics. But for both Odyssey and Sea-Squirt, the goal remains: keep it small, simple, and inexpensive.
These activities and the experience we provide our students are only possible through the research funding from our generous sponsors. We are grateful for their continuing support. I also would like to thank the entire staff whose dedication has made our progress possible. The laboratory staff is headed by Jim Bellingham and assisted by Tom Consi. Thank you.